All right, guys, welcome back into another episode of the Show Baseball Podcast presented by Beyond the Monster. I am your host, Andrew Parker. Today's episode, diving into the Yankees system. We got Brennan Jones on. Brennan was a 2024 12th round pick last year by the Yankees, and he is in Somerset right now in Double-A already, just 1 year after he got drafted, which we do kind of dive into a little bit. We do talk about, obviously him moving through the system so quickly, obviously already in Double-A a year after you get drafted is pretty good. So we do talk about that. He was just named Eastern League Player of the Week this past week there for Somerset. So we do talk about that as well in the week that he had. Then we also dive into some other things, maybe his first spring training and offseason and all that. And obviously we show some love to our good pals over at Kansas State University, where he came from, that has been producing quite a few professional players lately. But before we get into the interview here shortly, whether you're watching me on YouTube, listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever it is that you get your podcast, please please subscribe. I'm making a push on YouTube still. Any subscribe helps. It's free to do so. I really would love to get that number up on YouTube so you can see my pretty face more often. But without further ado, let me shoot you on to the interview with Brennan Jones. All right, I am joined by Brennan Jones, and he was fresh off winning a Player of the Week award for the Eastern League this past week, and I will dive into that here in a second. But with the MLB draft going on, it kind of made my wheels turn a little bit, and I wanted to ask you about it. So we're about a year now from when you got drafted to start your professional career. Looking back at the last year, can you describe what that feeling's been? I guess what the ride has been like for yourself?
Yeah, it's hard to describe just because, from me being in college, I really didn't have a whole lot of knowledge of the kind of pro ball and how it all worked. And I didn't honestly keep up a ton with professional baseball. So I didn't know what to expect. So obviously it's kind of been a bunch of surprises, and it's been a lot of fun. It's been a fun journey for sure so far. But definitely gotten to experience and do more things than I thought I'd be able to. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun. It's been a fun year for sure. I was actually talking with my parents last night. We were just kind of talking about how much things have changed just from like a year ago this time when I was just getting drafted. So yeah, pretty cool for sure.
Has it been everything you expected it to be? Has it been very different than what you expected? Because I know you said you kind of didn't really know what to expect, but since you started it, has it been more crazy, I guess, or has it been kind of like what you thought pro ball would be like?
I think definitely when I first got into it last year, right after getting drafted, and we kind of get up there, they kind of throw us through a crash course of kind of learning everything, and then we're sent out to affiliates. I think that part was kind of like, I was like, oh, this is like a little crazier than expected. Also, your body's just not adjusted to that lifestyle and how that schedule works, because it's not the same as the college schedule was. But I think coming into this year and having like an off season where I did get a little taste of it, this year has kind of been, I found a good groove and routine with it and with my body and things like that. So it's been a little less hectic and trying to figure my body out and how to feel the best. But yeah, those first few weeks definitely were kind of like, oh, this is way kind of different than I expected. So yeah.
Yeah, and something unique as well is, and I know that some organizations are different than others on how fast they move their prospects through the system and everything, but you're already in Double-A and you just got drafted a year ago. And I know you're a college guy, I know you're bad and everything. I get it. There's some other factors that go into it, but being in Double-A just 1 year after you've been drafted, has that sunk in yet that, you are literally 2 calls away from being a major leaguer? So has that any of that set in yet?
Yeah, it is definitely something that I'll think about and reflect on. It's pretty cool where I'm at in Somerset. We'll get some big leaguers and stuff like that rehabbing. And that's kind of something they always say is you're closer than you think, being here, you're closer than you think to being right there in the big league. So yeah, it is definitely pretty cool feeling. And like I was saying earlier, I didn't really know what to expect. I didn't know how quickly to expect, you're moving up or staying at one level. So definitely to be at Double-A just a year removed from being drafted is definitely really, really cool and not something that I expected when I first got drafted this time last year.
Yeah, and obviously, as you probably already know, I mean, I know you're only a year in, but minor league ball is obviously a grind, and
Mhm.
some guys, it could take a year, year and a half. It could, some guys repeat levels, like it is something that you're already up in Double A, so that's obviously a great thing for you. But I do want to dive into your week last week. I don't know if it's I'm assuming it might be one of the better weeks you've had as a professional baseball player, due to being a player of the week, but I could be wrong. Sometimes guys have very good weeks and they don't get it. Obviously, some other guy
Right.
probably hit like 3 home runs in a game, like your good pal Nick Goodwin. But for yourself last week, what was working for you? I guess how did you? I guess in your own words, how did you get player of the week last week?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of just been obviously I've been Double A now 5 weeks, something like that. So you're trying to really like settle in and get a feel for the level and make adjustments. So that's kind of what past few weeks I've really been making adjustments, trying to get my swing in a better spot. And I definitely felt like my swing was in a good spot, my approach was in a good spot, and sometimes it helps too that you're just having those weeks where the baseball looks like a beach ball. So it was just kind of one of those weeks where the swing was feeling good, the mechanics were feeling good, and then I was seeing the ball really well. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. Kind of a good week to take into the All-Star break too, and hopefully propel me into the second half.
So I'm pretty sure you're probably aware of this, but I don't know if you would consider yourself a power hitter by any means. As I think your career high, dating back to your college days, was 9. You're already close to it. I think you're at 7 between your time at Double A and High A this year. Have you been doing anything differently to tap into the power department a little bit more? I guess can you kind of talk to me about, like, I guess what that's been like, trying to channel your power a little more?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's not necessarily trying to tap into that power because, like you said, I'm not necessarily a power guy, but it is kind of. I've been making some swing kind of tweaks and little things like that just to try and clean up my bat path a little bit and try and drive more balls in the gap and things like that. And then as a result of that, some of those balls where I'm able to catch them out front a little more, something I'm able to get out of the yard. So it's not necessarily something I'm working on just for the sake of power, but it's kind of an added bonus, I guess, of some of the work and things like that I've been doing to try and clean up my swing and my path a little bit.
And obviously we were talking about power. I know that's not your bread and butter type thing, but obviously I was reading a couple scouting reports, and Baseball America's got stuff out there on you and everything, and they characterize you as you're a plus speed guy, and your defensive game is also mentioned in there as being one of your strong suits. But I want to hear from you. I don't want to read like Baseball America. I feel like you probably know yourself a little better than they do. No offense to BA, I love them, but for yourself, what do you pride yourself on? What part of your game do you really like? This is my part of the game that's going to get me promoted and possibly make me a big leaguer one day.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of it, like obviously, the defensive aspect, like I want to try and make every play I can, which I think has been really something the Yankees have really helped me with. Even some of the small stuff, like your jump, your first step, some of that stuff that's even helped propel me defensively. And then at the plate and offensively, like I'm just trying to get on base, whatever however it is. Obviously, hitting a home run's great. Whether I walk, like I'm trying to get on base and then use my speed to my advantage and turn a walk or a single into a double or triple by stealing second, stealing third, or going first to third, making things like that happen on the base pass. So I think that's really what I pride myself on, is just like trying to find a way to get on base and then really like letting my speed and instincts take over from there and make something happen to score runs.
You had mentioned as well, you getting drafted by the Yankees and, them working with you. And I think you got very lucky and you ended up going to one of the best organizations in baseball, obviously a world-class organization. The name speaks for themselves. And I know that they've done pretty well in years past with player development and things like that. So for yourself, what has it been like, I guess, so far, being in the Yankee system, and, have they come to you with, different things throughout your first off season, spring training? Like, have they been very hands-on with you, or were they like, we love everything you do, just keep doing what you're doing? Like, what has that experience been like with their player development?
Yeah, it's been really good. I think they've done a good job of balancing. Like when we first got there, they didn't say anything to us about like offensively, mechanic wise, until we finish out that season, and then we kind of got to the off season. Then if they notice something, they might say something or tweak something. But I mean, they did pretty immediately kind of like start giving us some stuff as far as like the base running side, the defensively, things like that. Just I didn't even realize some of the access to information and little things that they have and that they've kind of given us to help us, like that I feel like have even helped me grow defensively, base running, like other avenues of stealing bases and things like that. So I think that's really been a big help. And then obviously from the offensive side, I think they did a really good job of like getting a good sample size of at bats and really like getting to learn me as a hitter and things like that. And then kind of working from there and kind of working with me as opposed to like, okay, this is what have to do. Kind of like, okay, what do you think about this? How does this feel? Okay, it doesn't feel great. Let's try something else. So I think they've done a really good job of balancing that.
Yeah, and I'm sure they gave you, obviously going into your first professional off season, they probably gave you some things to do and all that when you were back home. What did you spend your off season doing? Like, were you working on certain aspects of your game? I guess, how did you spend that?
Yeah, so yeah, it was first off season. Obviously, I was blessed. I have a couple other pro guys that I'm friends with around the area, so they kind of had experience with their, they'd had a few other off seasons and things like that. So I was able to kind of bounce things off of them. But yeah, it was really. I mean, obviously, I'm trying to get stronger, trying to even increase that speed if I can. And then yeah, swing wise, I think that, like the Yankees is really big on like training like hard. You should be failing in your training, hitting, working hard shapes as far as breaking balls, things like that. It can't just be comfortable all the time, like flips, tee, things like that. You're not getting better that way. And you also really can't judge whether you're like mechanic wise things that you're fixing, whether those are actually getting fixed if it's not off of game like movement and game like stuff like that. So that was definitely something I really worked on, is kind of trying to work on hitting breaking balls, fastballs, like mixing it up, things like that. So that was really something I tried to hone in on this offseason.
So obviously that led you right into your first spring training, and I'm assuming that as a rookie, I'll say, like your very first spring training, it might be sometimes not intimidating, but just overwhelming maybe, because you got
Mm-hmm.
so many players, like every single player in the organization's there, every coach, everybody. So it's your very first time. Did you have like any, I guess, moments? I know you probably didn't get a lot of time, or maybe if all any, around like any of the big leaguers, anything like that, because I know you guys are in different like clubhouses and things like that. But did you have any like moments that stuck out to you from your first spring training?
Well, yeah, I was actually pretty blessed. They kind of allow some of the minor league guys to back up the big league games, so I was able to do that a lot, and I kind of didn't know what to expect from that aspect. I kind of talked to some of the guys, and they were like, we backed up a lot of games, but we didn't actually get in a lot of games. Some guys had that experience, so I didn't know what to expect. And then game one, I was backing up. I was like, oh, well, this is cool, like to be over here for the game one. I think they like wear pinstripes for the first game of the spring training. So that was cool. I was like, oh, it's cool to even be over here. And then like fifth inning, coach comes over. He's like, hey, you're going in next inning. Like you're going in for Bellinger. So that was definitely not like something I was expecting to be in that early. And actually I got a knock in that first at bat with I think Jason was on base and Jazz was like behind me. There's a new pitcher coming in, and Jazz was kind of giving me his scouting report on him and what he thought I should look for. So I was like, this is a pretty cool moment, and definitely not what I expected to have the opportunity to do my first spring training.
Yeah, you kind of mentioned a couple of those names, and I know you had told me earlier that obviously you've been in Somerset. You guys have I guess it's a luxury. Well, it's not good when players are hurt, but when guys come, when they're rehabbing, it's pretty close to the big league team. Obviously, they're in New York City, so I know they've Somerset's had a few guys, like Jazz. I saw like Goldschmidt was down there earlier this year, and you guys have had a few guys from the big league team rehabbing down there. Was there a pinch me moment, like sharing a locker room with some of these guys, I guess, this year?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely cool. Like we had Stanton, he was up there just a few weeks ago, and yeah, definitely just seeing him in the clubhouse and just how big he is and the way he goes about his business and things like that. That's definitely like, okay, yeah, it's pretty cool to be in the same lineup as this guy. Obviously, then we, playing defense, we had Stroman down there for a few starts. This past Sunday, Gill started for us. So yeah, it's definitely been cool to just kind of be around those guys and see their routines and how they go about their business. And, you can see how they got to where they are and how they became such great players.
All right, so I'm taking you off the field right now. Just got a couple for you, and I always like to peek around just to kind of see what you like to do off the field. And when I looked at your Instagram, your baseball through and through, man, which I respect the hell out of. But so the only two things I saw was you're engaged. Congratulations, by the way,
Thank you.
and you love baseball. You play it, and that's all I could see. But I'm going to take you to a Monday off day. Let's say you get every Monday off in minor league baseball. What are you
Mhm.
doing with that off day?
Oh, man. So, I mean, obviously, sometimes those I'm not doing necessarily what I might be doing in the off season, just because we're doing so much during the week where it's like I don't want to be on my feet too much. But one of the off days we spent playing some pickleball. So I'm a big fan of pickleball. We actually the apartments we're at it's really nice. We have a pool, so that's where we'll spend a lot of our days. And then obviously being in close proximity to New York City, my fiance was actually up a couple weeks ago for an off day, and we spent the whole day being tourists there. So we went and checked out the city for a day. So yeah, it's a good area where we're able to mix it up. But yeah, that's kind of how most of my days are: sitting in the pool, hanging out with some of the guys, or pickleball or something like that.
I know you're a position player, but you're not a golf guy.
No, I wish I was. I'm
Ooh.
terrible at golf. So I'm
Okay.
like, I don't even want to waste my time being out there in the course.
Yeah, you're in the minority. I know you're not a pitcher. I mean, if you were a pitcher, it's a given, but
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
still in the
yeah.
minority there.
I know. A lot of those guys, they're up like early on that Monday. I'm like, I don't know how y'all do it. They're out there golfing. So
Yeah, I don't know either. That's something too. That's like it's your off day. I'd almost be like I don't want to be like doing
right,
this. I'm exhausted already from the last 6 days on the road or whatever. So,
right.
um, for I got married last year. I went through the wedding planning process and all that. The engagement and everything. Have you had responsibilities for that?
I'm not going to claim that I've had definitely she's had most of the workload, which I felt bad just because I'm away. It's a lot harder for me to do stuff, but yeah, I have tried to chip in where I can. We've also gone through. We closed on a house while I've been gone, so she's been dealing with trying to get moved into a house and planning a wedding. So definitely felt bad. She's really helped out a lot by taking care of some of that, but I've try to chip in where I can for sure and help out.
Two big life events, man,
Yes.
at one time. That's a lot. I'm going through the home buying process right now. It is horrible. So
Yeah.
I can only imagine doing the wedding planning in that at the same time. All right, I got two questions left for you, and I will let you slide here.
All right.
I asked you about this before we started recording, so I did want to ask you about it now. I wanted to give you a chance to show some love to the good program over there in Manhattan, Kansas. We like them a lot better than Lawrence, Kansas. So you're obviously a Kansas State baseball alum, and I had mentioned a couple names that I've seen just recently get drafted as well, just like yourself last year. So I'm starting to see a lot of names coming out of Kansas State lately. And I know it's probably not the end of it either. I'm sure we'll probably see more names year after year now. What was it like playing at K-State? I feel like they don't really get as much of the love in the Big 12 as obviously like Oklahoma State and some of those other
Mhm.
programs around, like Texas Tech and a few of those other schools. But how was it like playing at K-State?
Yeah, I loved it. I mean, me being from Nashville, I was kind of the same way. Like, I really hadn't heard much about Kansas State, and kind of just the hitting coach, Coach Waits, was at one of our like games watching another team's pitcher, and that's kind of how I first got introduced. But I loved being there. I mean, it was a ton of fun. And like you said, from the time we were there, that was kind of Coach Hughes' motto to us: is like, we're trying to become a national team, be like a national program, like some of these Oklahoma States that are talked about and pretty well known. So yeah, I mean, I think they got this thing rolling 2 years in a row, making it to the postseason. And then like I think all three, or the other two of my roommates that were last year at Kansas State were all three in Double A already. So yeah, it's definitely pretty cool to see some guys having success in pro ball, and then obviously every year having guys that are drafted and things like that. So yeah, it's I think they're definitely getting it rolling over there in Manhattan.
Yeah, I'm telling you, they're. I've been seeing it a lot more, and I've probably interviewed like 200 players on this, just around 200, and I think I've probably had like 3 or 4 K-State guys now. So well, I didn't expect that. So all right, I got one question left for you here, and I will let you slide. Obviously, we're at the All-Star break right now. You got a little break. I know we're officially in the second half of the minor league season, officially on the schedule. But for yourself, do you have any goals that you want to achieve by the end of the season, whether they're statistical goals, personal goals? Like, what do you want to achieve by the end of the year?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, really, because of the way hitting and you can do so like everything right and still get out hitting and stuff like that. I try not to set any particular goal there. I mean, I think the biggest thing is like my stolen bases. I'd love to get to 50 for the season. Something like that. I think that would be probably like my biggest goal for the rest of the year is trying to keep racking up those stolen bases and get as many as I can.
All right. Well, I like the way you put that. Obviously, it's like sometimes it's better not to have goals. I think statistical at least, just because
Right.
you're gonna put too much pressure on yourself going down the
Yeah.
stretch here. But all right, Brendan, I thank you so much for hopping on. Obviously, wishing you best of luck. Best of luck going forward here the rest of 2025 in Somerset. There, hopefully, I get down there and see you at some point. But thank you again for doing this.
All right. Yeah. Of course. Thank you.